bit about that Jack Ruby story.
Oh, well, it's really no big thing. He just made the mistake of telling me all this stuff and then telling me it's off the record. And I tried to explain to him, look, you're supposed to get me to agree it's off the record. Then you tell it to me, and I will honor the off-the-record portion, you know. So he leaned across the table, and he said, well, if you get my name involved in this, I'll find you and kill you.
That was off the record enough for you, right?
That was off the record enough for me. So
I love it.
And it really wasn't all that much, although there was a fascinating bit to that. He told me how he used to go and collect gambling debts with Jack Ruby for the mob back in the 50s, and he said it was a great deal because if they go and the guy paid up, then they would split some of the money and then send the rest of the money on. He said if it required some violence, that Jack Ruby would, if there was any violence involved, he would like snap into a alternate personality, and he'd just go wild, you know. And then when it was over with, he wouldn't remember anything had happened. And the guy laughed and said, so anytime we had to get violent with somebody, I just kept all the money because Jack didn't remember it had happened. And, you know, that really struck me, George, because it's well documented that after Jack Ruby shot Oswald and they got him upstairs to the police station and he calmed down a little bit, he started saying, what happened? What happened? Tell me what happened. So that's apparently amazing. He just went into that mode. I don't know if that was an MK Ultra mind control or if that was just a quirk of his personality.
What a bizarre, that entire story of the Kennedy assassination is just too strange, Jim.
Well, you know, that was the two things that got me going that very weekend. And I was in college. I was already on a degree plan as a journalist. And I'd been in Jack Ruby's club. I'd met Jack Ruby. And the two things that really got me was, number one, all the people who said that they thought there was, well, some people said 4 shots, some people said 6 shots, but the consensus was already beginning to congeal around 3 shots. But they said there was 1 shot, a pause, and then 2 shots right on top of each other, kind of a bang, bang, bang. Well, even then, I'd been deer hunting. I knew bolt-action rifles. You don't get a bang-bang with a bolt-action rifle. It takes a little bit of time to cock the bolt, pull the trigger. So it would have to be a bang, bang, bang. And so I was puzzled about that. And I thought, but I was, you know, like everybody else, I was accepting the news as it was unveiling itself through the media. But then on Sunday morning, when I'm sitting there waiting on the announced transfer of Oswald to the county jail, and Jack Ruby, a guy who I already knew had ties to the underworld because my fraternity brothers had warned me. They said, if you go into Dallas, you want to get in a high-stakes poker game, look up Jack Ruby, but be careful because he's connected to the underworld. As strange as it seems, in these more enlightened times, at least down here in Texas, we'd never even heard of the mafia. We didn't know what the mafia was. But we knew Jack Ruby was connected to the underworld. When I saw him step out and shoot Oswald, alarm bells went off in my head, and I just said, wait a minute. But one lone nut gets killed by another lone nut, handcuffed to policemen in the basement of the police station. Something's not right about this.
Let's go to the phones. We'll pick it up by going to our east of the Rockies. Ed in Maine. Go ahead, Ed.
Hi. Hey, listen, you were talking a little earlier about the oil and the tankers circling around out there.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, I've been somewhat suspicious, particularly of the people in this administration and the way that oil prices have gone, more or less been manipulated. I wonder if at this particular point in time, the oil prices aren't coming down because all these alternative energy sources, such as the alcohol and the grain manufacturing of alcohol, they've all put out their big contracts, the bids for farmers to grow all this corn. And all of a sudden there's this credit crunch. And now they're going to have to go bankrupt. And guess what? We won't have any alternative energies because all these companies have gone bankrupt. And what do you guests think about that possibility, manipulating these companies out of business, so that now the oil company is back at the helm again. I'll take the answer off the air.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Right.
It's a distinct possibility, Jim Morris.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, we've talked all along, whether it's the financial crunch, the credit crunch, the housing balloon, or whatever. This is all manipulated. This didn't just happen, okay? And, you know, it probably started back in 1913 when they slipped the Federal Reserve System in on us by subterfuge, by deceit. In fact, one of the men who attended that meeting at Jekyll Island called himself and his fellows conspirators. Okay, so it's not a conspiracy theory. They call themselves conspirators. And it was all a plan to get control over the money supply of this country, a eventuality that Thomas Jefferson warned us against. He said, if you ever allow bankers to gain control over the money supply of the country, then your offspring will grow up without property in the country we founded. And, George, I don't know about you, but when I drive around these big cities, I see all these people living, renting apartments and renting condominiums and paying on their cars, paying on their... They really don't own anything,
no.
except maybe some clothes in their closet.
Next up, let's go to our west of the Rockies. John in Palm Springs, California. Hey, John.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Back to JFK. This is on the record. David Ferrie, who I knew from the Civil Air Patrol Squadron, Lakefront Airport, pressed in the hands of a then senior cadet when my buddy and I were on the way to Dallas before '63 in our pursuit of the national drill team competition. He pressed in the hands of this senior cadet a phone number and said, when you're in Dallas, you know, if you need anything, call this number. And that was Jack Ruby's phone number. So that connects David Ferrie directly to Jack Ruby. Plus, I am awaiting from the widow of a gentleman whose photo I held in my hands that puts Oswald in the same frame of that picture with David Ferrie. The people who know already don't need that photo, but it's like the tree in the forest. For those who didn't see it and didn't hear it, they deny that it happened. But for those who need that photo, I will have it soon, because we in the squadron there knew and giggled about all this stuff. We were in the eye of the hurricane in New Orleans between Dallas and Miami.
Did you know Lee Harvey Oswald yourself?
No, sir, but then before he was the Lee Harvey Oswald, I could have met him without knowing. It's only after the fact that one would know that he was. Not claiming that I met him.
Okay.
I'm just saying that I was in about a year and a half after him. Me and my guys were in this.
Okay, so you were a little bit after Oswald. But the thing is that what you're saying is, and I'm not sure this has been made clear, but the caller is absolutely 100% correct. David Ferrie, one of the men that Jim Garrison in New Orleans sought to prosecute.
And I knew Jim Garrison.
Yeah, was the commander of the Civil Air Squadron that Lee Harvey Oswald belonged to, and I'm not sure if we're talking about the same picture, but
out on Bivouac.
Yeah, there is a photograph that was made, has been made public. The public television aired this several years back. It has David Ferrie and Lee Harvey Oswald together. And as the caller said, this was again one of these things that for about 20, 30 years they said, oh no, they didn't know each other at all. And of course that's been proven to be untrue, like so much else in that case.
But I and my other cadets at that age were taken out to do the war games, maybe not with the adult mercenaries, but on the weekends with the squadron activity. And there were two Marines there training us in hand-to-hand and knife fighting, and that explains the fact that the world refers to Oswald as that ex-Marine and not that ex-Civil Air Patrol cadet, because the world, they don't want the world to know that Oswald was connected through the Civil Air Patrol with Ferrie.
Right.
Although Stone did reveal those couple of things, and the world scoffs at Stone as well as Garrison, and yet they